Good morning, and it's a pleasure to welcome you this morning from Edinburgh Chapel within HMP Edinburgh. My name is Gordon Pennicott. I'm the full-time chaplain here at HMP Edinburgh, and I'm sure some of you might remember me some 5-6 years ago when I spent my probationary year at Gorgie Dalry, as it was then, Gorgie Dalry Stenhouse. But it's nice to be with you and leading you here from our chapel within the prison. It's Prisoners Week, and the theme this year is Not Alone. I'm sorry that I can't be with you in person, and that was one of the driving things that we were thinking about Prisoners Week this year. What does it mean to be alone? Jesus said, "I will be with you until the end of time." And what does it mean to be alone in your house watching this? What does it mean to be alone in prison? A wee bit of background to Edinburgh Prison. It is 100 years old this year on this site, although none of the current buildings are 100 years old. They were all knocked down and rebuilt around 20 years ago. HMP Edinburgh holds currently 876 prisoners as of Thursday. We have a complex mixture of prisoners. There are remand prisoners awaiting trial. We have long-term prisoners who are serving sentences of 4 years plus. Short-term prisoners, we have mainstream prisoners, we have sex offenders, we have non-offence protection, and we have a female unit of up to 100 females. So it's quite complex in terms of working out who can mix with each other, who can't mix with each other, and then where they can go within our complex. The regime due to COVID is currently running on a day shift regime, which means that prisoners are able to access some exercise, some education, some PE and so on between 9 AM and 12 and then 2 PM and 5. Other than that, they are locked up and they are alone. But what does that mean? What does it mean to be alone or not alone, as the theme of this year's Prisoners Week picks up on? The launch event that you're about to see is being shown across all of Scotland at the same time. We're showing it in prisons, we're showing it to families via the Prisoners Week Facebook, and we're showing it to churches to try and embrace the idea that yes, we may be on our own, but we're not alone. So I encourage you to watch this service, which has been produced by the Prisoners Week Trust, and I'll talk to you at the end of it.
My name is Sheena, and on behalf of the Prisoners Week Trust, I would like to give you a very warm welcome to this year's launch service. We're doing it differently. We normally meet in a church, but by doing this virtual service, it means that we can all participate and be part of this service at the same time. So those inside prison are watching it at the same time as those outside, whether it's family, friends, congregations, or those in other organisations. But a warm welcome to everybody. I think we've all learned a little bit more about what it means to be locked up during lockdown. Certainly for those of us on the outside who have been locked up in our homes, certainly for a few weeks, it's given us a little glimpse into what isolation can mean. And for those inside prison, it's been particularly difficult with longer hours locked up in cells, less activities and less access to family and friends. The visits stopped for a number of weeks. So this year's Prisoners Week theme is Not Alone. It's a reminder to people that there are others around them, both inside the prison and outside, who are there for them, thinking of them, praying for them, supporting them in all sorts of different ways. And this will be explored through this service. We've got various people giving an input, and fairly near the start we have some women from Cornton Vale doing a little audio skit, and we have people from different prisons involved through the Prisoners Week prayer. But a big thank you to everybody who's been involved in any way in making this virtual service happen this year. I'm going to hand over to Caris, who is going to host the rest of the service.
Hi, my name is Caris from Alpha Scotland. Welcome to Prisoners Week. Thank you for joining us. Today we will hear from a variety of people who have served in prison ministry. Firstly, we have an audio feature from Cornton Vale called TikTok.
Tick tock, tick tock,
Click clock, click clock,
lock the lock.
but they can't stop the clock.
This call originates from a Scottish prison. If you do not want to accept this call, please hang up.
Our world's in lockdown.
I'm in lockdown, always have been.
There are days when I feel down. I just want to go home.
There are days when I feel alone.
And the door shuts.
I'm locked in myself,
I'm alone. The world is still.
with only my thoughts for company.
Silence. Like I've never heard.
Our prison is in our own mind.
My thoughts are swirling, spinning, shouting.
Would have, could have, should have.
And who'd listen to me? I'm just a number.
Aye, I'll visit you. Of course, just tell me what you need.
No answer to calls. They hang up when they hear it's a call for the prison. And there's no reply to letters.
You certainly find out who your friends are.
Don't get me wrong. Some folk have stuck by me. Just know who I would have expected.
Some folk visited once and then they couldn't hack it, the stigma, the room.
It's just a building. How can a building define me?
You hae no idea what it's like. You haven't lost everything, your friends, your prospects, hope.
No one can hear me when I cry.
And yet,
Love,
hope,
peace.
glad to be alive.
Look to the future.
I love you.
Bring new hope.
Cherish each other.
Life is magic.
Take your chances.
Start over again.
Live.
Love.
Laugh.
Love and be loved.
Cherish each other.
This call originates from a Scottish prison. If you do not want to accept this call, please hang up.
Hi Hen, how are you?
Hi darling, what you up to?
And I hear the whisper, you are not alone.
Thank you so much. My name's Steph, I'm from Scotland, and I'm going to sing some songs tonight about the most important thing in my life and the thing that I love the most, which is Jesus Christ. And it's an awesome privilege. And when you leave here tonight, it's great that you've come and you're here to listen to music, but it's my hope and prayer that when you leave that you've got questions and thoughts about how Christ is impacting your life, because that really excites me. Because if you can, as you'll hear from my story, I've been on a bit of a journey, and if you can bring me to a beautiful place like this to sing songs, I'd love to see what he can do in your life, you know. I believe in grace, I believe in forgiveness and redemption, I believe in miracles. And at the heart of that is Jesus Christ, my Lord and Saviour. So thank you, and thank you, Jesus. And I'm going to take it down a wee bit and sing a blues. Now, the blues is great because you can moan about anything. But so this is a song I wrote when I was really, really broken and just full of fear. And unfortunately, I ran away from fear my whole life, and I didn't realise that, fear is actually an emotion that's there for a reason. It stops you getting hit by buses and stuff, So. But I ran away for so long and used all kinds of things to numb out my pain, including alcohol and drugs. And this is a song called Snake Eyes, and it was just because every time I looked in the mirror, I just felt like a loser. You know, when you roll 2 1s in the casino, maybe not, but But this is just a little look into how I felt, man. Raging water's been running through my soul. Raging water's been running through my soul, drowning me in agony, tenderly and slow. Raging water's been running through my soul. Yeah, I'm overcome. See how I run. Feels like that heat is gonna get me. Don't look now before the fire burns. Feels like that heat is gonna burn me. And I sold my soul when I took another roll of the dice. Look at them snake eyes. Look at them snake eyes. There's a silence been hanging in my heart. Empty silence been hanging in my heart, and the tears I cry let me dry, pulling me apart. There's a silence that's been hanging in my heart. Yeah, I'm overcome. See how I run. Feels like that heat is gonna get me. Don't look now before the fire burns. Feels like that heat is gonna burn me. And I sold my soul and I took another roll of the dice. Look at them snake eyes. Look at them snake eyes. Shame has cast a shadow over me. Shame has cast a shadow over me. I won't deny I have lied, the color what you see. Oh, shame has cast a shadow over me. Shame has cast a shadow over me. Shame has cast a shadow over me. And I won't deny that I have lied, the color what you see. Oh, shame has cast a shadow over me. Yeah, I'm overcome. Oh, see how I run. Feels like that heat is gonna get me. Don't look now before the fire burns. Feels like that heat is gonna burn me. And I sold my soul when I took another roll of the dice. Look at them snake eyes. Look at them snake eyes.
Thank you, Steph, for your courage in writing such a vulnerable song. Amazing. Now we're going to hear from Bishop Nolan and then our Prisoners Week prayer.
Hello, I'm Bill Nolan. I'm the Bishop of Galloway. We're celebrating Prisoners' Week. But let's be honest. To most people, Prisoners' Week means nothing at all. Unless you're actually in prison or maybe you've got relatives in prison. Most people have no interest in Prisoners' Week. That's not surprising, because when society puts people in prison, it tends to forget about them. No wonder then that many in prison can feel that they're abandoned, unwanted, that they're alone. The theme of this Prisoners' Week is a reminder to us that none of us is alone. You are not alone. I am not alone. We are not alone. It's the teaching of the Bible and the teaching of Jesus that God is always with us, and that God cares for everyone and has a concern for everyone, no matter who they are, no matter what they have done or what they have failed to do. God is always with us. We are never alone. The Catholic Church sends chaplains to prison, and that reinforces that message that no one is alone. The chaplains, by their very presence and by the work that they do, want to show to prisoners and others that they are valued and important. The chaplains care, the Church cares, and so also does God. This coronavirus pandemic that has affected us all in so many ways has also helped society to realise that everybody is important, that we're all interconnected, and that no one should be abandoned or left alone. The pandemic has taught everyone that just as I need others, others need me. So the message of this Prisoners' Week is an encouraging one. Never feel abandoned. Never feel that you are unworthy or unloved. Never feel that you are alone. And I hope that the presence of the chaplains in the prison will reinforce that message, that you are never abandoned, never alone. God is always with you.
Lord, you offer freedom to all people.
We pray for those who are held in prison.
Break the bonds of fear and isolation that exist.
Support with your love prisoners,
their family and friends,
prison staff,
chaplains, all who care.
Heal those who have been wounded by the activities of others,
especially the victims of crime.
Help us to forgive one another,
to act justly,
to love mercy,
and walk humbly together with Christ
in His strength and in His Spirit,
now and every day.
Amen.
Wasn't that encouraging? Now I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker, James Faddis. James is going to be sharing some of his story, and I know that you are going to be blown away. So sit back, relax, and listen to my friend James.
So my name's James Faddis, and I'm the church leader at Bishop Briggs Community Church here in Bishop Briggs. That's not my background though. I grew up in the West Coast over in Irvine in Ayrshire. My mum and dad, very much young people when I was born, working class background. None of us are alone when we start out our life. We're influenced by the society around about us, by our parents, by the school that we go to, and that was my story. And I had a good wee posse around about me, all my mates, and the thing is that there's influence. We influence one another. We're not alone. And that early childhood influence at home, at school, in the community, with my mates, that influenced my journey. Even as a child, I wasn't alone. So as a child, I knew that I wasn't alone, and I knew that I was loved. And I knew that there were people around about me, and they were struggling too. Many of them were coming from families like my own, struggling to make ends meet, family members working hard to keep things going. But as I was going through school, trouble increased. the influence of teachers, the influence of social workers in the criminal justice system, for me as a young person, just became more of an influence in my life. I knew that I wasn't alone. I knew that there was someone in the wider society saying, this is not the way to behave, this is not the way to go. I struggled to make sense of it all. I struggled to find my place in the world. Even seeing all the people around about me and knowing I'm not alone, and hearing their influence and knowing they were concerned about me, it very much did feel that it was me in my own wee world, and I didn't really understand. I didn't know the meaning of life. I didn't know where was I going, who was I meant to be. And that's a particular type of loneliness as a young person. And that then led me to getting into more and more trouble with the law. And sadly, as a teenager in my late teens, finding myself standing before a sheriff with my lawyer, with all the other people, the PF and folks in the dock, my family. I didn't feel alone then, but I felt so much alone because I knew that I was about to embark on a path of real deep, dark loneliness. As a young person, standing before that judge, it was the scariest, most lonely time, I think, of my teenage life, until I found myself locked up, until I found myself getting strip searched and being introduced to where I was about to spend the next year of my life, and being moved from one prison to another, and then discovering that some of the other young people that went off the rails when I was at school were in that prison with me. It felt like a very lonely time. There was bullying, there was lots of bravado and people trying to say who's top dog and who's game and who's got the upper hand and who can be more violent. That wasn't what I was interested in. I just felt probably scared and alone, separated from my family. But the wonderful thing is, as I came to the end of a string of short-term sentences which added up in total to about 10, 11 months, it was another inmate who said to me, why don't you come along and be part of this group? It's a fellowship group. They talk about Jesus, they talk about the Bible, and he didn't say that in a derogatory way. What I suppose I really experienced there was another inmate looking out for me, trying to show me the ropes, trying to do me a good turn, to say, mate, I know this is tough, I know this is crap, but you're not alone. And there's something very, very powerful about looking out for other people in a similar situation to you. I know that this is a time when so many people are feeling the isolation, whether they're in prison or outside. You're thought of. It's been understood how difficult isolation and lockdown is, like perhaps never before. But I was not alone then. I knew that Andy from Peterhead was looking out for me, and he was trying to show me a road that he had found. And so it was a strange experience being in an open prison in the outskirts of Dundee and meeting in this gym hall where there was other prisoners, including Andy, that invited me along to the group. There was the prison chaplain, who was a lovely man with a dog collar on. There was a whole bunch of students from the local university. There were lots of senior citizens. There was a good team of volunteers, and they were all there for us. They came into the prison to share with us this good news message that there is a God who loves you. You are not alone. But the thing is that they represented that. They were demonstrating to us that we weren't alone, that they were thinking of us, that they had love for us, and that they had a message that they wanted to share with us. And that changed everything for me. That helped me to realise I'm not alone. And that helped me, I suppose, to come to a point where I heard a message of faith of a God who loved me. So chaplains were there for me, other inmates were there for me, volunteer teams, young and old from all different backgrounds, were there for me. And then one of the first things that I was encouraged to do was to go and speak to social work, and they were supportive as well. And then I wrote home to my family to tell them what was happening with me, and with me being due to be released from prison in about a month's time, they were there for me as well. It was very clear that I wasn't alone. It's very, very clear. I remember that night that I heard about the God who loved me and who wanted to reassure me and every other inmate in that prison that we were not alone. And there were a number of volunteers, and I remember praying to ask God to come into my life. I didn't want to be alone in the world, and that was such a help for me. I knew that that was a challenge, and I knew that that was I was being called to walk with this God who loved me. And so that began to change things for me, and I remember I stopped things like cheating at cards with my inmates, and I got rid of some of the dodgy magazines that I had stuck up in the inside of my cabinet, and it changed, a lot in my life changed. The difficulty became when I was released from prison. Thankfully, a volunteer phoned me and said, "Look, you're not alone, mate. I know that you've just got out the nick. Can we meet up for a coffee?" He wanted me to know I wasn't alone, and I kind of said, no thanks. And I fell away from my faith, and again, I just was plunged into a different world again. Alcohol and drugs and sleeping around, and gradually that loneliness began to come back. From being in the jail and hearing about a God who loved me and feeling that my loneliness was dispersed and taken away, and I had a newfound faith, there I was thrust back into loneliness. Loneliness of mental health problems, being on my own, loneliness of losing all employment prospects and having family breakdown, and all sorts of things began to disintegrate in my family. I felt more alone than ever, almost like the second time. There's a story in the Bible about a prodigal who, coming from a family where he decides that he wants out of the picture, he wants his inheritance, he goes away and he squanders it, and he discovers that things were not always, were not what he hoped and thought they were going to be. And then he came back to the father, and he was waiting for him. The father was waiting for him to welcome him home. And that happened with me. I wandered away. I never connected with the church that were trying to reach out to me. And I found myself in a deeper, darker, more lonely place than ever. Was that the end? Far from it. Far from it, because in the depth, I cried out. I cried out to God for help, and He was there for me. And He's there for all of us. And perhaps this is a time just to cry out and just ask Him, just come near to me now. What happened is, when I came back to God and I reached out and I found someone to talk to, they were there for me. I was introduced by the chaplain that I had previously met in the jail to a minister of a local church, and he was there for me. I wasn't alone, and he sat with me and he talked with me and he asked me what was going on, and I was telling him I was struggling with addiction, with criminality, with mental health problems, with family breakdown. I felt hugely alone, but he listened to me. And he brought me into his fellowship church, which was a space not much different from this, and he introduced me to some other people who said, "Can you get alongside this young guy and show him a wee bit about youth work?" I was just like 20 years old at this point, having been away. I'd probably been out of jail just over 2 years, and yet my life had been worse than it was from even before I was in the jail. And that minister and others within their church mentored me and helped me and trained me and released me into other youth work and to being involved in community activities. And that then led to me getting further education, getting employment, reconciling with my family, repaying some of the debts that I owed to people, putting things right, because I had made a lot of mistakes and hurt a lot of people, and I wanted to make things right. And that was quite a shock and a surprise to them, that people that I had stolen from, I wanted to make restitution. People that I had wounded by my words or my actions, I wanted to apologise for, because I was realising we're not alone. We live in a world where there's people influenced by the things that we do, and I was being made new. I was being brought back into life in a way, and that was just such a wonderful experience. And then as I grew out of that, like I mentioned, I went back to school, I went back to university, I got a degree, I got work, I got a postgrad diploma, I became an addictions worker. I was working in youth work, working with hundreds of young people every week, so that they would know you're not alone, so that they would have the opportunities that maybe as a young person I didn't have. We're not alone. There's good news, there's communities of hope all around about us if we can maybe just be introduced to them, or if we can see them and find them. And so I found a community where I could contribute and give something back to society, a bit like this here. This is one of our projects here in the church that I'm now the minister at. It's called Glasgow Roasters. And what we do is we work with people who are being released from prison or who are coming out of rehabilitation centres or who are in recovery, people who struggle with addiction, with criminality, mental health issues in the community, so that they can find this is a community of recovery, a place where they can find friendship, somebody that will come alongside them, teach them how to do something creative, something worthwhile that really pulls out the treasure and the gold that is within every unique human being. Adam over here is now one of the key roasters here in Bishopbriggs at the Glasgow Roasters project, and he's currently doing a lovely batch of Brazilian coffee for us. And I just want to say, we're not alone. We have a responsibility to look out for one another and be for one another. But over all of this, the message that we really want to bring for us all today is that God is with us. God's name is Emmanuel, which means God is with us. And even now, as we're beginning to approach Christmas season, God moved into the neighbourhood and he came alongside us to show us what it was to truly be human and to help us to realise that we can be there much more for one another. And there's so many ways that people are saying, you're not alone, you're not alone. This is a difficult, dark time. So be encouraged, you're not alone. God is with us, God is with you, and he's for you. And everything is being made new because of that. All right, Adam, so how's it going, mate? You doing all right? So get in touch if it would be good for you to connect with us. We're available, we're here. Just look us up when you get out, Glasgow Roasters. And there's any number of organisations in the community that want to partner with you, that want to support you. You're not alone. And so we're now just going to spend a wee bit of time reflecting by listening to the amazing sounds of Steph McLeod and his song, Shining Light.
This is Shining Light. And the Lord is my light and salvation. I won't be afraid. He's the stronghold of my life. Whom should I fear?
You are my light, you are my shining light. You are my light, you are my shining light, my salvation. Oh, my life for you, no one, no one. You are my strength, I'm thirsty for you. Evil would have me walk away from the truth, but I stand upon the rock in the name of the Lord. And though my enemies come, they will stumble and fall. And as I stand all alone under the shadows of the sea, evil rises up in a mighty wave to bury me. But I will not be turned, no, I will not be afraid. I got the light of my Lord burning here within my veins, and I say, you are my light, you are my shining light, Jesus. You are my light, you are my shining light, and my salvation, yeah. Oh, I said, at home I feel no one, no one. So take me and hide me in the palm of your hands, and raise me high above where mine enemy stands. I said I will rejoice and I will be true. Oh, my weapon is my voice to fight the darkness for you. And even when I feel forsaken, Lord, I'm gonna look to thy face. Oh, humble my heart as I pray for your grace. Come on and give me the words, and I will walk in the truth. I am a warrior for Jesus. I'm a warrior for Jesus. Oh, you are my light, you are my shining light, Lord. You are my light, you are my shining light, and my salvation, yeah. I said, at home will I feel no one, no one, no one, no one, no one. No one, no one, no one. So here I am, and so I am. It's all for you. It's all for you. And I'm looking to your face, my Jesus. Yes, I am looking to your face. And I surrender all to you. I surrender, Lord, all to you. You lift me up. You lift me up. You lift me up. Higher and higher, lift me up. Oh, Jesus, you lift me up. You lift me up. Oh, Lord, you lift me up. You are my light, you are my shining light, Jesus. You are my light, you are my shining light, Jesus. You are my light, you are my shining light, Jesus. You are my light, you are my shining light, yeah. You are my light, you are my shining light, Jesus. You are my light, you are my shining light, Jesus. You are my light, my shining light, and my salvation, my salvation. Whom will I fear? No one, 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 no one.
Thank you, Steph. And now we're going to hear from the moderator of the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland, Martin Fair. And then we're going to hear from some organisations that support prisoners all across Scotland.
Hi folks, my name is Martin Fair and I am presently serving as the moderator of the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland. One of the brightest, smartest men I've ever known spent many of his years from his late teens through till his mid-30s in prison. His life got off down the wrong track from a very early age and got progressively worse through his teens. One wrong decision here, another one there, led to all kinds of problems for him. His life was a mess. But here's the thing. As a church congregation, we were able to support him while he was in prison and out, support his partner, because for her it was incredibly difficult to keep going. And the good news is this: he left prison for the last time, for what has proved to be the last time some years ago, and is now doing brilliantly well, actually a committed Christian, and working to help young men as they come out of prison, putting back, if you will. And the support of the church throughout much of that time was crucial for him in getting to where he is now. Friends, I want to say this: we need to move on from judgment, from wagging our fingers and shaking our heads, from attitudes which say, well, they made their own bed, they better lie in it. It's what they deserve. Yes, we need a criminal justice system, but as Christians, it's not for us to judge. It's for us to help and support. And there are many ways in which we can do it, many volunteering opportunities, ways in which our congregations can support those in prison and their families. I would urge you to look into those possibilities, to find ways in which you can make a difference. During this Prisoners' Week 2020, I encourage you to do just that, and thank all those who are already involved in this very valuable ministry. Thank you.
My name is David Swan. As well as being a chaplain in Edinburgh Prison and Polmont Young Offenders, I work with a charity called Junction 42. Junction 42 exists to see the lives of those in prison and those coming out of prison, as well as their communities, visibly transformed by the good news of Jesus. We work primarily in the areas of building positive relationships and engaging in purposeful activity. In prison, we run Alpha and other engagement courses, and we give one-to-one support to those who are approaching release. In the community, we form and support Connect communities that meet weekly. We run our workout programme that engages one-to-one with folk to help them find their next step, be that to paid employment, volunteering, or anything else that will move them forward. We want to walk alongside each individual from where they're at to a future with hope, friendship and possibilities.
Hi, my name's Caris and I work for Alpha Scotland as the Prisons Coordinator, and we are here for you. Our vision at Alpha is that every inmate will get the opportunity to explore the Christian faith. In my role, I get to build relationships with the churches, to equip them and give them the skills they need to take Alpha into their prisons to support the chaplaincy teams that are already doing fantastic work.
Hi, I'm John Nonnabel and I have the privilege of working for Prison Fellowship Scotland. Prison Fellowship helps the men and women in Scottish prisons explore the Christian faith. We do this through our weekly Bible study groups, our Sycamore Tree Restorative Justice Victim Awareness course, and a new letter writing programme. We also have our Angel Tree Christmas gift programme for the children of prisoners and help young people affected by imprisonment attend an SU summer holiday. We're blessed to work with prison chaplains and have an amazing group of volunteers. We have been privileged over many years to see how many men and women have chosen to explore the Christian faith and how this has made a huge difference to their lives.
Hello there, my name is Dorothy Russell and I'm the full-time chaplain in HMP Shotts. My role as a chaplain is a wide and varied one. As a chaplain, I'm responsible for the spiritual and pastoral needs of all prisoners and all staffs, and indeed families too, if they want to be in touch with us. I do arrange and conduct services of worship, but that's a very small part of what I do, because we also run courses of various kinds and we run various activities And we organise events from time to time, especially around Prisoners Week, though not this year because of the restrictions due to the COVID crisis. I also work with through care organisations when men are coming up for release to ensure the best possible outcome for them when they head back home. But by far the bulk of the work that I do is one-to-one work with prisoners. Men in shots are often there for a very long time, and while they are inside, life is happening outside, and there are times when they need a bit of help and a bit of support. I see myself as a kind of softer side of SPS. As a chaplain, I feel that we fill the gaps left by the more rigid SPS and prison regime. Many men arrive in shots with more baggage than you could get in the hold of a jumbo jet, and I spend a lot of time giving men the opportunity on a one-to-one to think about their life and how they have ended up where they are. In doing that, more often than not, that leads on to spiritual matters, of forgiveness, of dealing with guilt and shame. And of course, as a chaplain, I believe that the answers to those questions, those big issues that they all face, is found in the gospel of Jesus Christ. For me, that is where true transformation and unlocked potential is really found.
Hello, my name is David McAdam and I work for Connect Community. Connect Community is part of the wider family of Bethany Christian Trust that's committed to ending homelessness in Scotland, and our particular role is to support men and women coming out of prison and facing the challenges of reintegrating into society. We want to help you avoid homelessness, but we want you to do so much more than that. You know, in the Bible, when it says that God made this world, he says everything he made was very good, except for one thing: a human being on their own. And we don't want you or anyone to be alone, so we want to help you make friends and find community that will help you grow into the person God made you to be.
I'm Sheila Gordon, Director of Children and Families at Crossreach. Crossreach have 2 prison visitor centres, one at Perth and one at Polmont, and these centres are run by staff and volunteers who provide a cup of tea, a listening ear, activities for children to join in, and generally support to people who have a loved one in prison and who can find the whole experience of visiting at times quite difficult to manage. And our staff help people through these visits.
Thank you to Martin and to all the guys involved in the Here For You video. This week we have some exciting forums with experts in their fields, and we're going to be looking at what support is out there for families, for inmates and for life outside, as well as the justice system. To sign up, please go to our Facebook page and the website, which will appear on the screen now, somewhere. Thank you for spending this time with us, and remember, you're not alone.
So how do we respond to what we've heard? HMP Edinburgh is within the parish of Gorgie, Dalry, Stenhouse. We saw how many connections can be made. Prison isn't just about prisoners, it's about families, it's about how we react to prisoners when they become, as we term it in Scotland, ex-offenders. When they leave here, how do we react? How do we encourage and engage with them? There are lots of opportunities, and I would encourage you to seek a way to at least challenge your opinion. Families are often vindicated for what their loved ones have done. We can help them as churches, we can support them, show them love, care, and remind them that they're not alone. As I said at the beginning, Jesus said, I will be with you until the end of the age. Well, we are Jesus' hands, feet and mouthpiece on this earth. So how can we be with these people? I hope that I will get the chance to see you soon and maybe join you all for coffee sometime soon, once we get through this crisis that is COVID. But in the meantime, be assured that you're not alone and that you're in the prayers of many prisoners at this time. God bless. Amen.